Hello, we are still reading Developing a Nation, and we are going to be reading Dustbowl Refugees today. Just a reminder of how to annotate your text as you're reading. We should always be following along and annotating. The table of contents will help you navigate your book. It helps you find the page numbers so you don't have to just look through every single page. So it's very useful. I want you to remember our question, how do communities evolve? We read about the open road and we thought about how that helped communities grow. Today, I want you to keep thinking about this question as we read our new text. Today, we're going to read Dustbowl Refugees, so go ahead and turn to page 6 and press play when you're ready. Before we read, we always want to preview the text, so let's use the pictures to preview today's text. Look at page 6 and 7, look at the pictures, and think about what this tells you the story might be about. While I was previewing, I also noticed a word in the first paragraph that I did not know, and that word is drought. We're going to use context clues to figure out what this word means before we start. I see in the sentence right after the word drought, after months without rain. So I'm going to use that to figure out what the word drought means. Months without rain is a long time. So I think a drought is a long period of time without rain or water. Now that we previewed the book, let's start reading. Dustbowl Refugees. Beginning in 1931, the Great Plains region began suffering from drought. After months without rain, soil that used to be fertile became arid and barren. Crops that were once lush soon became wilted and died. Then, heavy winds caused a series of dust storms to ravage the Midwest. There's a lot of words in there that we can use context clues to define. Paragraph 2. In 1933 alone, there were around 38 documented dust storms, or black blizzards. By 1934, the area seemed like a desert. Then on April 14, 1935, Black Sunday happened. Winds began to blow and the worst black blizzard hit. Skies filled with dust. Houses were buried under mounds of sediment. Families tied rope to each other as they tried to make it from their barns to their houses. The caption says, "The storms were like blizzards, covering everything in their path with dust." The quote says, "Suddenly there appeared on the northern horizon a black blizzard moving toward them." This was a quote by Donald Worcester, author of Dustbowl, The Southern Plains in 1930s. The caption says, "A family relocating to California." The quote says, "The land just blew away. We had to go somewhere," by a Kansas preacher in June of 1936. Finally, when the blizzard stopped, more than 400,000 people had lost their homes and farms. These Dustbowl refugees, many of them from the hard-hit state of Oklahoma, had no choice but to flee to the Great Plains and relocate. They packed their cars with whatever they could carry and left their old lives behind. Many hit the road and migrated to the Northwest, emigrating to California, Washington, or Oregon. They hoped the open roads would lead to a better life. The timeline on the bottom tells us the order of how things happened. So I'll read it to you. 1931, drought hits the plains, crops die, dust storms begin. 1933, number of dust storms increases to 38 in the year. 1934, dust storms spread, affecting 27 states. 1935, on April 14th, Black Sunday, the worst black blizzard occurs. 1938, replowing of land, tree planting, and other conservation methods begin. The drought continues. 1939, rain comes in the fall, finally ending the drought. So if you go to the beginning of the timeline, it's 1931. The end is 1939. How many years of no rainfall was that? Now I'm ready to annotate. So my first paragraph, I thought that the date was important and what was happening. So in 1931, people started suffering from the drought, which was months without rain. I also thought that what happened to them in paragraph 2 was very important. Houses were buried under mounds of sediment. Families tied rope to each other to try to get from their barns to their house. This tells you how crazy these storms were. In paragraph 3, I think it's important to underline that 400,000 people had lost their homes and farms. They are called the Dust Bowl refugees. So Dust Bowl refugees are people that had to flee from the Great Plains and relocate. So they had to go to a different state. They had to drive somewhere else. They were hoping that the open roads would lead to a better life. Before we write our main idea and summary on page 6, I want you to think about these questions that will help you write it. What happened during the 1930s in the United States? How were people affected by the drought? And who were the Dust Bowl refugees? This will help you get to your main idea. Now that you've thought about those questions, on page 6 in the notes, I want you to write the main idea. If you have to go on to page 7 because you run out of room, that is completely fine. I'm not going to write mine because I want to see what you can come up with. Once you finish writing your summary of page 6 and 7, I want you to flip it over and look at pages 8 and 9. I want you to read this, maybe read it out loud to a family member, to a teddy bear, to a dog, to a cat, anything. I want you to read these out loud and just think about what the Dust Bowl really was. Great job. Now I want to do a little activity. So, refugee is a person who is looking for somewhere safe to go after being forced to leave their home. So these Dust Bowl refugees were forced to leave their home and they were looking for somewhere safe. I want you to circle all the words in the text that help you understand what refugee means, the context clues. You can circle it with pen, pencil, marker, really anything you want, but try not to use your dinner. I want you to continue doing this on pages 8 and 9. Anything that helps you understand the word refugee.